thank you so much, and thank you everybody for coming to hear what I have to say. Um, so today we're going to go over the some strategies how to finance your next or the first investment property. But before I do that, again, what does it take to get into an investment game? Before you do that, you need to create the team, or your power team, because you need to find the property. So that's your mortgage, that's your real estate agent. You need to finance the property. That's basically your mortgage broker or a banker, if for that matter. But the options with the bank are limited, and you're going to run out of options pretty quick if you decide to buy more than one or two or five, and then you're going to reach the ceiling, and that's it. And again, I'm talking about on a residential side, not commercial. Is slightly different depending on what bank you deal with and that kind of stuff. And again, the on a commercial side, they may have appetite for one type of property, but not for the other. So, like I said, we have real estate, mortgage broker. You need to have a lawyer, a proper lawyer that will direct you, in certain type of situation. You don't want to be dealing with the something like a business lawyer, or I don't know, divorce lawyer or something like that for your real estate transactions. They may know some of it, they may close, but when it comes to some more complicated deals, they may not be able to do it. And unfortunately, in this time and in the market, those easy deals are running out pretty quick. And to make a good buck, you need to get creative. So then the lawyer, plus you also need a good accountant to give you a good strategy, how to minimize taxes, how to go about capital gains, how to basically make sure that the operation runs smoothly and you don't have CRA audits and that kind of stuff, right? So, well, you'll have them anyway, but it just make sure that everything's kosher, right? Because you don't want to be. This is not the good idea to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. In real estate, you need to more or less ask for permission, do it right. And I'm talking about like building permits and that kind of stuff. If the neighbor called on you because you're doing something wrong, that's already too late, because they're going to put a work order on you, and you're going to be stuck, dealing with the city and not doing whatever you're supposed to do. So,
just to follow up on what you said, Yiriy, we had a neighbor who had a addition on the back of the house, and somebody complained, and they had to rip it down.
Yeah. Well, and that's one scenario. But if you have a tenant, you finish the house and you put the tenants in. Now you have to deal with it, and the bylaw officer comes in and says, "Well, this is not a legal, fourplex, duplex, whatever that might be." Now you're gonna kick the tenant out, deal with with the work order, and then do it again. So imagine that scenario. Like it's impossible to kick someone out right at this point, right? Especially if they haven't done anything wrong. That's on you, right? So imagine how much money they can ask for vacating the property that they just moved in, and you have no choice, right? So, like I said, you need to create a power team before you jump into it, and obviously read up, and you want to rely on your sphere of influence or on your power team, but you also need to know stuff yourself, right? So getting into financing, let me see. I have a little cheat sheet here. So does anyone interested in investing in real estate with no money down?
Oh, everybody. Yeah. Bring it on.
Well, it's not for everybody. It's not a cookie cutter deal. But that, those things kind of exist. And I don't mean that you don't put any money down yourself, right? You may want, you may have to do that, but because you're going to have to do some renovations, you're going to have to do some improvements and that kind of stuff. So you still need some money regardless. Did I get your attention now? So one of those things, obviously, well, first you go to the bank and the bank says no, and this property is awesome, it's great. Once you renovate, you're gonna make tons of money. What do? Well, you go to the private financing, right? Hypothetically speaking, let's say you found property that's worth 500,000, and you can get it for 350 because of this, circumstances. So you go in to the bank. They say no, we're not going to give you even 350 because you don't have enough income and that kind of stuff. So you go to the financing, to the private financing. They say, well, we still want to see your, the skin in the game. So then, what do? You can go to the private to the owner, which it's called vendor take back. So the owner, if he's willing to do that, then you get a second mortgage basically from the vendor, from the seller.
Does that happen?
20%, whatever, 15%, whatever you can get, right? And
Yiriy, does that happen still in this market?
It still does. Like I said, it's not for everyone. It doesn't happen very often. It's actually probably more an exception than a rule, right? But you still have to. You don't need 70 deals. You need one deal a year, right? Or two deals like that, maybe at the max. So you find your deal. What I'm saying is that you don't have to. Investment in real estate is a patient game, right? A patience game, I should say. You can't jump in and out and I made tons of money. It's a long-term strategy. Of course, like I said, there are all kinds of different exceptions. You'll have people. I have a guest here. You have people playing with real estate on a short term, like investing in Reits. It's more or less like a stock. But you can get it 9, 10%, 12% a year, and you get in for a year, you get out. Again, depending on the strategy, on the strategy on the project, and as well. Like I said, the real estate is very fluid kind of game. You have to know your strategy, and you can switch from one strategy to the other strategy to the other strategy, and so on. So you have to be very quick, hey, go away. Sorry, I have a cat here. So when you're dealing, like I said, one of the strategies is vendor take back, and you go and ask for the vendor for the mortgage. Then once you got the deal closed, then you renovate, you do the improvements, you do all kinds of things, and then you put the tenant in there, and you generate income, and then you go for conventional financing. So that's one way to do it. And people always tell me, oh my God, I'm paying 12% on private mortgage, which is very, very expensive. Well, is it? Because you're paying, let's say, $30,000 on $300,000 mortgage or something like that a year, right? And after a year or maybe a year and a half or something like that, you switch it over, but you bought the property for $350, worth $500,000. So you didn't make $150, you made $100, right? But after you renovated that property, that you got that money back already. So you gotta think of every angle out there. Any questions?
I have one. You mentioned that after a certain amount of time, you can go and get more of a conventional mortgage rather than the vendor take back. Is that because you've now upped all the value and you've got the property rented out? Does that make you more appealing to the bank or traditional financing?
Yeah, that's, well, sorry, say it again?
You said the first, like at first you don't qualify, right, for traditional.
Yep.
So you've gone the way of the vendor take back.
Yep.
And in a year or so, then you get a traditional mortgage or conventional mortgage.
Yeah.
Are you able to get that conventional mortgage after the year and a half because of the renovations, the increase in value, and having a tenant? Is that what makes you more appealing to more conventional financiers?
Yeah, both. Meaning when you're buying the property at $350,000 and it's most likely dilapidated, right? More or less. So you have to do complete renos and everything else. And you want to do renovations and you want to do an appraisal right at that time, right? Because the bank will go and look at the purchase price and like, oh my God, you bought it for $350. Now you're saying it's worth $500,000. Yes, but I put in $100,000 into it, and it's actually probably worth more than 500, probably worth more like 600, right? But the bottom line is, as long as even if they go 80% of let's say 500,000, not 600,000, you're still able to flip that 350 from private to conventional, right? There's going to be enough money there. And your tenant, let's say you found the property and we flipped it from one single family dwelling to a secondary suite. That's going to provide, like on a current market in Hamilton, for example, the 3-bedroom unit runs about $2,200 a month. And a basement unit runs about $1,800 as well. I mean, nicely done and everything else, not just run down, property. So that provides 22 plus, let's say 16. That's $3,800 a month. So that'll carry. Aman, can you do a quick calculation of how much it would carry?
A year?
All right, let me just open up the app.
Yeah. So the $3,800 a month. I'd say probably around $600,000 or something like that. But because you have to include property taxes of $400 or $500, you have to include insurance, heat cost, and that kind of stuff, right? Maintenance, vacancy. I'm talking about banks financing versus or conventional bank versus something else. They include all those things, but I'm pretty sure it'll carry more than the initial mortgage amount, right?
Okay.
So
I have a question.
Yeah.
So how would you go about methodically, let's say, do you have a system or a method of finding such a property? And I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to get a small triplex. When I say triplex, it could be a house that could be converted to a triplex, or has already got something set up that way, or it could actually be a triplex apartment building. So how would you go about finding such a property that is number one, in an area where the prices are reasonable? Two, it's in an area where the tenants will be good, as in ability to pay, as well as I don't want to say no trouble, because every tenant is a little different. But what I'm trying to get at is there's a quality of tenant in a certain area that you need to have a fairly hassle-free landlord career, right?
Yeah.
As well. And the area. So So which, I guess I'll take it from, say, a helicopter's view or a bird's eye view. Which areas in the GTO in Southern Ontario would you start, and what's the process you follow to arrive at, okay, this is the property, or this is the area or the group of properties I'm going to look at based on the budget I have?
Oh, good question. There is no such a thing as a good or bad tenant sort of thing, right? You have to be very selective when it comes to that, right?
Yeah. So never mind the tenant for now, but I'm just interested in the process of how do you zoom in to a particular area that you would think, okay, there's in every town or in every area, there's a ring, let's say, there's a ring of sweet spots for properties where, you think, okay, they're in the right location, they're close enough to hospitals or whatever, they're close enough to areas where people who are prospective tenants will eventually have the ability to pay and want to live in that spot. That's the kind of tenant I would want if I'm a landlord, right? I want someone who has the ability to pay, who works and want to live in that area. I'm not interested in an area where, people maybe are coming from far away, or maybe they're going really far away for work, or, the tenancy might be fluid, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe the quality of the tenant might not be good. I'm looking for people that say, okay, I'll use an example of, say, a hospital, right? So how do you, if I want to get tenants that are probably employees of the hospital, because I know in the medical field, the jobs tend to be a little more stable, the tenant quality tends to be a little bit better. What is the process I would have to follow what are the things I need to do? Okay, I can't just identify, okay, here's a hospital and I want to find an apartment building. How do I do that?
I understand, Neil, and it's a very valid point. The problem with that, it's always individual, and I'll give you 700 scenarios in terms of you said hospital. I have the property 200 meters away from the hospital. I'm renting it out. Actually, I do it Airbnb there. I thought my guests will be most likely, visitors from the hospital. It's near Jirinsky Hospital, so I thought, it's a long-term care for the cancer care kind of thing, right? So people would come in for 2 to 3 weeks and visit their family. You want to guess how many guests I had in the last 2 years from the hospital? A zero. So, and the same thing with the, you're talking, and again, no offense to nurses and doctors and everybody else, but how do you know that doctor is not a drug addict or something else? The people are people. It doesn't matter what profession. You could be, in fact, some of the professional tenants, when they come to you, they're going to be, does everybody know what the professional tenant term means? They don't pay. Simple. They don't. They just come in and they don't.
And they know the law.
Oh, they know the law.
They know the law.
So, and the guy will come in in his suit with a tie and nice shoes and everything else, and he's going to provide every possible proof of that he's a good, worthy tenant. You're not going to see a dime after the first initial deposit. That's it. They're going to sit there for next 6 to 12 months, and it's going to be hard to kick him out. And God forbid if you don't know your Tenant and Landlord Act, because they're going to milk it to the fullest, basically, right? But to answer your question, Neil, we find the property, and it's really depends. It's not what the property is now, it's what you're going to do with it after. Because even with the this thing is driving me crazy. So because let's say you bought it in a bad area, well, in a not so great area, right? And hold on.
Hey, Neil, I hope there's nothing flawed with your thought process, because that's exactly what Bill and I did. We bought a condo that is like, got the hospital that Yiri's talking about just above us. We got one down the street and one, 6 blocks to the south of us. So, or north of us, sorry. We're hoping that, and I can tell you most of the tenants now on our floor are hospital workers of some sort at some level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
was thinking more on from a long-term tenant point of view, not necessarily Airbnb, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So, Neil, basically, like I said, it's not what the property is now. It's what you're going to do with it, because you're going to attract a certain tenant after you renovate, right? When you're renovating and you're going to charge, $2,300, $2,400, $2,500, you're probably not going to attract some of the, more troubled tenants. Let's put it that way, right? Unless like you do what I did, you get the guy and he sublets it to some other guys. So you got to be careful with that. But there is an easy solution because they're trespassing. So, that kind of stuff. As far as the long-term tenant, you're saying you want to have the people live there for long term. Maybe not such a great idea. Oh, go away. Hold on. Let me deal with this thing. Deal with this thing because she's
That's what's turning your camera off?
yes, she's pulling on a wire. So
Show me love or I'll make you pay, she said.
yeah, I know. So because the like even from last year, the rate or the rent's gone up by about $200 just from year to year. And the good example, like I said, I rented my property, one of the other properties, at $1,600 2 years ago. Now I'm renting it at $22, so $600, and that's and because I only had them for a year or year and a half. Yes, I had to do another fresh coat of paint. Go away, fresh coat of paint. A fresh coat of paint and stuff, but adding an extra, $600, I guess it pays for itself within a month, right? And going forward. So, like I said, having people for 20 years, it's not the greatest thing, because like right now, one of my clients, they have, we're trying to sell the property, and they have one tenant paid $1,000 and one paying $1,200 for 3 and 4 bedrooms. So imagine how hard it's going to be to ask them to leave.
So what would you say would be the sweet spot when it comes to length of time a tenant would stay, that it would ultimately make it even more profitable as a landlord going forward?
Yeah.
So instead of someone staying 20 years, are you saying maybe somebody who wants to stay 3 to 5 years is better?
Yeah, in my
Because then-
experience,
Because then you can keep increasing the rent when a new one comes in.
Yeah, in my experience, it's about 3 years,
Okay.
3 to 5 maybe, but that's again, it's very individual, right? Some people are comfortable with that, but it has to make sense. I know your mortgage is going down. I know they're paying you increasing by 2% on annual basis, hopefully, and that's something as a landlord you got to do, regardless of, oh, they're so nice, they did this, they moved the lawn, they do this. No, you got to increase the rent on annual basis. You're not their friend. You're not their friend, so you're a landlord. So you have your responsibilities, but you also have the rights to increase the rent. Very simple, right?
And that's whatever cost of living is, right?
Yeah, it's you increase it for a cost of living, for sure.
I want to ask another question, but it's kind of a left field question. I don't know if anyone else has a question, go ahead and then I'll ask at the end.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Yiriy, I'm going to give you a scenario
Sure.
that I feel like I'd like to do. And then
Okay.
you tell me if that is realistic or if, if it's not realistic, or what would you do? So I want to slow travel the world, as in live in certain countries 3, 4, 5 months, move on to the next one. But I want an investment. Let's say it's a property, and I want it in my home country of Canada. I want it to be, in some sense, hassle-free, because I don't want to have the hassle of dealing with tenants while I'm halfway across the world. So I want to invest in a property that, number one, yes, it'll give me steady rent flows, steady cash flow, so that I can finance my travel. Number two, I want it so that the maintenance or the administration of it can be done by someone else, or at least if it's done on a minimal amount. Right. And what realistic am I looking at? Because yes, like you alluded to, when a tenant leaves, you may want to go back and renovate the place or do certain things to spruce it up, clean it up, make sure that it's ready for the next tenant. So is it a realistic thing to think that I can, slow travel the world, be traveling around the world and have, say, one property, one apartment building, let's say one small apartment building, and do all of that? I mean, is it realistic? Or as a landlord, do you have to be on top of things, and do you have to be on the ground or be prepared to be on the ground all the time? Because that's one of the, I don't think a lot of people think about that. How much work and effort and how much time does it take to be a landlord? And is it realistic to think, okay, I can just buy this property, rent it out, and then that's it, I'm done?
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for it from a personal point of view. I want to travel.
Okay.
I want an investment. I want to be able to generate cash flow, say $2,000 a month to finance my travel.
Right.
But I don't want to be on the phone every day or every 2 days with a tenant or with somebody trying to fix a problem from 10,000 kilometers away.
And I can tell you this is impossible to do in the first place. So let me ask you a question, Neil. Are you looking for an investment, or are you looking for a part-time job?
Not a part-time job necessarily, but I mean, I could do both.
Well, but that's what I mean. If you managing your own property,
Yeah.
this is what I call a part-time job. So when you do
Okay.
the business, you hire a property management company, and that's one of the power team is a property manager.
Okay.
So, and I like I said, I have Airbnb, I have other properties, and I don't do it myself.
Okay.
I pay my 5, 10, 15%, depending on what it is, and I just wash my hands. I'd rather pay, like, I'll tell you, this property, I was renting it at $2,200, and we turned it into Airbnb, and now it's the after the expenses, after the property management, I'm getting $3,200. So if you think the property, people get hung up on like, oh my God, I gotta pay $300 or $400 to the property management company. What's wrong with it? If they make
I don't mind paying someone to do all of that work. I just want to make sure that it gets done properly. That way I don't have to think about it halfway around the world. Yeah.
And trust me, with the property management company, they'll do it because that's their money, right? They want to do it. They want to maintain your property properly, so everybody's happy, and again, that's the money in their pocket too. So they're going to fix this and this and that, and you're going to have maintained property versus if you think about it, those people that, again, going back to somebody rents your property for 10, 15 years, it never stopped the foot in you know, in that house to do renos, imagine what's going to be.
Yeah, and you know,
Okay.
Yiriy, the property management companies, they're all about the numbers, right? They know the law. They're all about the numbers. They want to return value for themselves and for you. So it's actually better because they don't care about friendships like you had said. They don't care about friendships. They're just about the numbers.
It's business. It's business for sure. So, and you know, from that perspective, can you do that? Can you travel and have can you be absentee landlord? Absolutely. As long as you have proper tools in place, you know, like
Okay.
property management and somebody to keep an eye on it, then yeah. But otherwise, it's if I've seen people driving from Toronto to Welland just to change a light bulb.
And
Why
that's
would
what
you
I'm
do
talking
that?
about.
You know, why would I do that? And I mean, you gotta structure your lease properly as well. I put in any of my leases, I put any repairs under $100 are the responsibility of the tenant.
Mm.
So I'm not going there to change the light bulb. I'm not going to change their, you know, the handle that they broke off. That's like door handle. That's their problem, not mine. And you know, unless it was in a very bad shape and in just but if you stood on that knob to change a light bulb, I mean that's not my problem, right? You know, they do that. People do that, you know.
Wow.
So now one of the then let's go back to the any other questions, you know, before I jump into another subject. No? Okay. Aman, did you get that number for the mortgage? How much would it, how much 3,800?
Sorry, I needed some of the numbers again. I didn't get all of it.
Yeah. Well, with $3,800, but you have, well, whatever, we've tried to figure out what mortgage you would carry, right? With, let's say $400 property taxes, $100 insurance, and $150 utilities.
Okay.
I'm gonna put you to work. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Just give me a minute, guys.
Yeah. So before we jump into that, there's other creative strategies that I want to point out. And like I said, there is Reits, which is real estate investment trust companies that basically pool money together, and you can invest in that, and they have returns of 10-12%. Like I said, other strategies are also, and like passive kind of real estate investment is the private mortgages, which, you know, you can be on one side or you can be on the other side, right?
Mm.
Now the other one is very creative.
There are Canadian real estate investment trusts.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's some. Another one, creative strategy, and again, it's not for everybody. It's definitely not for the first-time investor. It's to get that 0% down is borrowing through the Rrsp.
Mm.
You can't go to the bank and just go, oh, give me Rrsp and I'll invest it. There's no way you can, you know, I mean, it's not possible, right? However, there are companies that manage that. There are trust companies as well that manage that for you. And of course, there are regulations, there are restrictions where you cannot borrow your own Rrsp. You can't do arm's length transaction. So you can, you know, if Ivan has Rrsp, he can lend it to me. But he cannot lend it to Teresa, that kind of stuff, right? No worries, Aman. But like I said, that mortgage will carry $350,000, or that income, the rental will carry 350,000 or 450 or something like that, no problem. Because, well, I know sorry, I'm jumping it back, but the mortgage for $500,000 is $2,000, right? A month, and plus $400 property taxes, insurance, and everything else. You're looking 26, 27. Add 5% vacancy. You're looking at under $3,000. So, and you have $3,800. So it will carry itself, no problem. So anyway, but like I said, to invest into the real estate, you can use another strategy. Again, it's a Rrsp, born Rrsp from someone else, which is managed by a trust company. You can collect the whole thing from different people if you have knowledge and how to gather funds, basically, right? Raise funds. That's the word I'm looking for. If not, you need just to raise sufficient for the down payment, and then you try to obtain conventional financing or private financing in addition to that, right? So like I said, a real estate investment is a combination of many different things. Like the other one I said that, rent to own the other day, right?
Mhm.
It could be as little as 5% or 3% of your money. And you get into that game, and I was kind of against that because you have to pay, it's a large sum that you have to pay on a monthly basis. But with today's market, it seems like people are being left out, and especially with today's like last week, I mentioned that year over year, the property value grew by 33 or 37% on average in Hamilton, and 55% compared to the year before. So, and how in the heck you can keep up with those prices? You can't. But like I said, with rent to own, you have a projected property value in 3 years that you're going to be purchasing at, and they usually go by 5% or something like that. But you're paying 5% over 15% over 3 years, or there's already 55% over 2 years, and could be 65 or 70% increase over 3 years. So at least you can minimize that jump, right? And you might be able to collect 5% versus it's impossible to collect 70% difference, right, in those 3 years. I hope you follow me. So that, like I said, I warmed up to that strategy because it's one of the ways to get into the market. Even though if you have good income, but you don't have you don't have the good credit bureau or something like that, right? And you're thinking, okay, I'm going to build up my credit bureau, and next year or 2 years from now, I'm going to be ready. This is the best way to get in. Any questions on that? Okay. I'm just going through my little notes here. And also, I just wanted to point out that when we're talking about these, I don't want to mislead you in any way. These strategies, they're not for a startup investor kind of thing, right? They've been around for years, and people kind of perfected them, and and I kind of cringe sometimes too. They go, oh, 0% financing. You need to be able to find those people that trust you, right? If you haven't flipped a house, nobody will trust you, right? But if you flip 5 houses, 10 houses, and they go, you go, well, here's the property, here's my plan. I need $100,000 to raise from you. They go, okay, I trust you. You paid me, 10% or whatever, up, on an annual basis. I'll give you the money, right? But if you're starting brand new, I don't want to mislead you. You may not get that. The other story, the other thing, when you go to the bank and you asking for 20% financing, or not 20, 80% financing, and you have 20% from your vendor or private mortgages or something like that, they're gonna go, if they don't know you, they don't trust you, you don't have a track record, they're gonna say, well, we need the skin in the game, and Aman probably can back me up on that one. But if they don't, they know you, you've been, I've been dealing with the banks for 15 years or more than that, on a lending side, and I go to the decision maker. I say, this is what are we doing? This is the exit strategy. This is how we're going to cash flow during the construction. All of these things have to fall in place, right? If you don't, and that's why I said you need. I'm going back. You need the power team. That people will guide you through those things and help you through the process, basically. I think that's pretty much it, what I wanted to discuss. There's some other strategies that you can do, but some of them are pertain to commercial. Some are more savvy, like bridge financing. I haven't seen that it exists, but I haven't seen that done for the carrying investment properties, because for the bridge financing you have to have property basically under the contract, so sold but haven't closed yet, and it just a little bit more complicated. Again, it's more of a one-off deals with the bankers, if you know them or not. But in reality, it may not fly. But anyway, I think that's.
I did have a question. I posted it in the chat, but it's sort of to you. Lately, I've heard two folks. They weren't in Toronto area, but they were in like London. That they got together and they bought a house together as two families that are both buying and occupying the house. I guess because they're all on the mortgage, I guess that makes it easier to purchase, right? So is that a strategy that can win in the long run, or is that short-term nearsightedness?
Well, if you're buying, again, I've seen different things, right? But if you're buying it, I can't give you one example, but I'll try to give you another one. There was a property for sale, and they were trying to sell a top unit and a bottom unit separately. And basically, like, how do you do that? You both got to be untitled, so that both got to be untitled. How do you share? How do you determine the value, whether it's 40/60 or 50/50 or 30/70? It's really hard to.
And who fixes the roof? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Who fixes the roof? Who fixes the furnace? Who fixes the what do you call it? The AC and so on and so forth. It's too complicated. If I have it all the time where 4 families live together, but it's all multi-generational families, right? So it's the same family, but just different generations, right? Where if it's 2 different families, I honestly don't know. It's to me it's a can of worms.
My just to let you know, my son and his wife had a roommate with his previous house that they've now become co-owners, but not a third. So she actually, Carissa owns half, and my son and his wife own half. And they've just had it through the lawyers that they'll revisit in 10 years. I don't know all the ins and outs, but they'll revisit the partnership in 10 years. The other person always has the first right to buy the person out, and anything that's for the home, whether it be bills, utilities, or maintenance, is all 50-50.
That's why I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah, I can't imagine what, I know a normal legal is like this, full scale. I can't imagine what theirs is like, but
Yeah,
but
I mean,
they've lived together for quite a few years previously,
Yeah.
and they've been together almost a year now, so.
Well, you're friends today, but you may not be friends tomorrow, right? So that's
Yeah,
the thing.
no, that's right.
It's hard. Like, I mean, I feel say, I get it when, for example, very good idea for that would be buying a fourplex for two families. If you
Mhm.
cannot afford to buy, you buy it yourself, buy fourplex, you occupy 2 units and you rent out 2 units. So it's going to be much easier on you. It's not going to be as much of a burden, right? If
Right.
you open to that idea. My wife says, I pitched the idea of renting out the basement, and she goes, absolutely not. So some people don't want to live with a tenant, right?
My husband said it has to have lots of insulation.
Yeah, well, that and well, it has to be total separation because people cooking, and you have to have two different ventilation systems and soundproof and all of
Yeah,
that.
heavy foots and yeah. Oh, bye, Victoria.
Hi, Victoria. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, Ivan. It's like I said, everything's very individual. There's no, I don't think I've seen two same scenarios. When you buying a property or selling the property.
That it actually works out, you mean?
Well, no, there's no like. It could work for someone, may not work for the other, right?
Okay. All right.
But it's interesting. Interesting concept, sort of communal living in a sense, right?
Mhm.
Some cultures are open to it. Some cultures are, absolutely against that. So it's all depends. I mean, we know, well, and I know some cultures are. They buy one house, they live, 5-6 families there. They buy another house, buy another house, buy another house, and
Mhm.
it's easy to pay off the house within 3 years with 8 to 10 incomes, even
Right.
if they're 40,000 a year, right? So imagine you have 400 grand coming in a year. You can easily put in 200 grand into the mortgage.
Right.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, right? So, and
Yeah, and you get quite a beautiful home.
What's that?
And you get quite a beautiful home from it, right? 'Cause
Well,
you have to have a
again,
house
it's
big enough.
the funny thing that actually interesting concept where they buy another property, they don't go in, they go and live there. They still continue living there, but they rent out the other one.
Right.
Mhm.
Which is the maximizing the hack out of the resources that they have.
Right.
Which is, I mean, I wish I could do that, but I can't.
Yeah. I know. I hear you.
Yeah, and when they all have bought and rented out, 4 different properties, that's the 4 families. Then they get the tenants out, and they all have a house that they all own, right?
Mhm.
Well, they own, right? But and then they I don't know, at some point they may move out and live separately.
Separately, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But going back to the investment properties, like I said, I always look for the investment property that what it is now. And I mentioned before that it's nice to buy at 350 if it's really worth 500,000, but it's not it's not readily available. You got to hunt those deals, right? I mean, you find one, great, but if you don't, that shouldn't stop you. Like I said, it's what you can do with it afterwards, after you buy it. How you can, if you see the potential. A good example. I mean, people shy away from the properties. There's no separate entrance. We can't do the two bedroom, 3 bedroom apartment downstairs, so it's not good. Well, I mean, that property has 8 feet ceiling in the basement, or 9 feet ceiling in the basement, or so. That's just an example. Seven parking spots. All you have to do is cut out the opening for the door, which is going to cost you $20,000, and all of a sudden you created yourself an extra, $1,700-$1,800 rental apartment.
Right.
Very simple. So it's like, if there is, again, if there is a will, there is a way. You just gotta know what you're looking for. And I can pick up the phone and call 3 guys that do those basements, those cutouts, right?
That's a great team, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's very like I said, the prices are high, but there are deals out there that you can make it work, right? Even again, if you're buying it $600,000, not $350,000, you can still make it work.
Right. Yeah, because the thing is that, as you see more and more people just not able to get into the housing market,
Yeah.
especially young folks, right? Catherine, leaving home now in Toronto, the GTHA becomes more and more difficult. I just think it's a really cool model for 2 families to be, if they can work out a contract, to be able to buy a house together with the plan that, that maybe, 5 years down the road, their plan is to sell that house and split the equity, right?
Yeah.
So they can purchase their own houses together.
I guess for Neil, I don't know other guys, whether they in the market for that, but in my experience, the single family home does not work as an investment because it barely cash flows, especially condos. I know lots of people buying pre-construction condos like I did too, but we got it we got it in a good time. So right, we got it at $400 per square foot or something like that.
Mhm.
Now we're looking at $800 and $1,000 in Toronto. It could be $1,600 per square foot. So there is no way it's gonna cash flow. So the strategy, the condo strategy is good that you put in 20, 40, 50 grand and you pull out to, $100,000 to $200,000, something like that, after 4 years. So that, nothing wrong with that,
Yeah. Yiriy, can I talk with you after the session?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think we're almost there.
Yeah. So like I said, for Neil, basically, like I said, the single homes don't work. The duplexes work pretty good, or not duplex, but secondary suite conversion. I can elaborate on that if you want. You can give me a shout. But when it comes to 4plexes and 5plexes and 6plexes, they're in such a demand right now. So we're looking at about, in some cases, $300,000 per unit kind of thing, and it just that doesn't make much sense because they're not huge houses. Not like you'd barely ever find three bedroom 4plex sort of thing. They would be 1 or 2 bedroom units, and you're not gonna. There's no economy of scale there. That's what I'm getting at, right? And you're still gonna be getting. You're gonna have, let's say, at 300 4 units. That's $1.2 million, and your income is going to be comparable to a secondary suite or 2 duplex.
Mm-hmm.
You may be getting out your $600 or something like that, but per unit is going to be like $200.
So why is that type of property still in demand then? Like, I don't understand.
I don't know. To be honest with me, I don't. Yeah, and you have to deal. My biggest problem now, you have to deal with 4 tenants versus 2, and you have a lot more maintenance and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. But then after you go, because again, that's the other thing, we have to deal with that much maintenance and more people. You're gonna get tired of it. With 2 people, you may still do it by yourself, that kind of stuff, right? But where it gets interesting, you go into 30-plex, 40-plex, and something like that, right? Where it's not much difference. You're hiring it's not contractor, but property management company to do the work for you, and there is a leeway, for you to pay them, right? And financing, there's when it comes to the financing, it gets a little bit more interesting where you can we can do only 15% financing, 15% down for the down payment, I guess, right? Or 85% loan to value, given that it has sufficient cash flow, right? So there is more might be more flexibility there. And that's a real investor game, not just couple of units.
Right.
That's pretty much it. I'm 3 minutes over the limit or budget. So
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, that was
Thank you
good.
very much.
if that was a little bit